Okay, so finally decoding. We might not get to the absolute right number on our first attempt, but what we're looking to do here is to dramatically reduce the key space so that we can brute force our way through the ones that we're not 100% on without wasting our time with brute forcing the entire possibility of combinations. So we're going to use a lot of feeling and feedback and a little cleverness to make sure that we can limit our work and get the actual bitting back from the lock. As I mentioned in the prior video, the ABUS Plus locks have false gates on them. However, because we know so much about locks when we approach them, we know exactly where those false gates appear. We can see that each of the false gates relates directly to a true gate position of another disk. Now, decoding, our goal is actually just to dramatically reduce the key space of the lock so that we can brute force our way through whatever possibilities remain. When you're trying to decode one of these locks, you want to really rely on your feedback and your feeling from picking the lock as much as possible. But then, if you're not quite sure about something, or if it's not opening exactly on the numbers that you think should be opening, then we go to this chart that we have here, which is going to help us run through all of the possibilities. As I mentioned in the last video, each of these disks has both a true gate and a false gate. So we have our number 1 row in orange here, our number 2 row in purple, 3 in blue, 4 in green, 5 in orange, and 6 in brown. Now, I color code them so that we can track where those disks also have false gates. So the number 1 disk has its true gate in the number 1 position, of course, but it also has a false gate in the number 3 position and the number 4 position. The number 2 disk has a false gate in the number 4 position and the number 5 position, and so on. So we fill in all of those colors so that we can very quickly reference what the false gates correspond to compared to the true gates. I'll probably provide some version of this chart down in the information about this video as well. And what we have are 9 disks. But the first and the last, the 0 disks, we know that those are just going to be turned completely. So we're going to mark ourselves some free spots and move on, not worry about those. So 7 disks remaining. As we're picking the lock, what we're going to do is mark down where we think the true gate is as we're working through this list. So on the first real disk, let's say that I feel this in the 6th position. Now the 6th position has a green mark above it, and what that's telling us is that the 6th position is used both by the true gate of the number 6 disk and by one of the false gates of the number 4 disk. So I'm going to put a bold black X in the number 6 position, but I'm also going to put a lighter X in the number 4 position. This is just to let me know that while I found something in that 6th position, it could possibly be the false gate for the 4 disk. Moving on, in the 2nd disk, we're going to find this in the 2nd position. So we feel like we got our true gate in the 2nd position, make another X. But the 2nd is also shared by the 4th and the 5th. Both the 4th disk and the 5th disk have a false gate in the 2nd position. So again, lighter gray there. Now the 3rd disk we're finding in the 3rd position. And the 3rd position is shared by 4 different disks in that lock. The number 1 has a false gate there. The number 3, of course, has its true gate there. The number 4 and the number 5 both also have false gates. So we mark all of those and keep moving. In the 4th, let's say we found it in number 3 again, same thing. In the 5th, number 5, we're not getting very lucky. Number 5, same deal. There are 4 different disks that use that space. 1 for the true gate and 3 with false gates. Now we have the 5th disk, the 6th disk, which we're going to find in the 5th position. That 5th position gate could be a false gate for either the 2nd or the 3rd position gates. And finally, on number 7, on the 7th disc in the lock, we find what we think is the true gate in the 6th position, which of course is still shared by a false gate from the number 4 disc. Now hopefully all of those numbers repeated and going back and forth and my own fumbling as I was talking weren't too confusing, and I'm sorry if they were, but hopefully the chart makes it pretty clear. Now, with the chart being fully filled out, there's still a lot of possibilities to go through, but you're not trying every single possibility absolutely. What you want to do is work off that spine, work off those bold X's that you thought were the true gate, because you really want to use your feeling and feedback to give you a leg up. And you're going to work off that spine and try one disc in its alternate positions, and then put it back in what you thought was the true gate, and try the next disc in its alternate positions. And continue going from there. So you will still be brute forcing your way through the remaining possibilities, but if you do it with a little cleverness, a little foresight, hopefully you won't get very deep into the list before you've popped your lock open, and figured out the exact bitting of this lock, so that you can reproduce a key for it. I hope this made sense. I know that I talked over myself a couple of times with all of the repetition of numbers, but I think the chart is relatively straightforward. And, well, yeah, I hope the video made sense. I want to talk a little bit about some of the disc detainer locks that are coming into North America right now and some of the problems with them. I actually really like the Avis compared to some of what we're seeing in the country right now, so I'll talk about some of my problems with the rest in another video. Apparently I'm doing 5 now. I had only intended to do like 2 or 3 to begin with. Okay, awesome. Well, thanks for sticking around this long. I'll see you in the next video.